Illegal migrant truckers are suing the California DMV over the state's plan to revoke their commercial driver's licenses. Fox News' Jonathan Hunt is in L.A. with the details. Jonathan.
David, the lawsuit claims thousands of immigrant truckers face losing their livelihoods as soon as January 5th as a result of the announcement from California officials that around 20,000 CDLs will be revoked because their expiration dates go past the date the drivers are legally allowed to be in the U.S. That decision was a response to pressure from the Trump administration after a series of deadly accidents involving immigrant truckers. Organizations representing the affected truckers, many of whom are Sikhs from the Punjabi region between India and Pakistan, have now filed a class action lawsuit arguing that the California action is based merely on a clerical error that mismatched expiration dates and immigration information. The Sikh coalition also saying, quote, "For these drivers, a valid CDL is a requirement of their job, and once their CDL is cancelled, they will immediately lose their jobs and abilities to cover basic expenses." The lawsuit also argues that the, quote, "sudden disappearance of so many truckers will disrupt supply chains and services on which the public depends." David?
Jonathan Hunt, thank you for that. For more on all this, let's bring in Rob Bluey, his Daily Signal president and executive editor. And, you know, it is a deadly issue. And I mean, there have been about a dozen deadly accidents that have been that are the result of people who don't deserve these commercial driver's licenses. But there is something delicious about Californian officials being hoisted by their own DEI petard, don't you think?
It certainly is quite interesting, David. I will tell you, as you indicated, it is a life and death issue because we have seen the consequences of 4 years of unmitigated disaster that Joe Biden oversaw with regard to illegal immigration. And the fact that so many states, California being the leading one, but New York and others being in the crosshairs of this federal government right now, have put the illegal immigrants in a position where they can get these driver's licenses, or immigrants just more broadly. They're not getting the type of training that they need. And as a result, Americans are suffering the consequences. So I'm glad to see that there is some accountability here. And I hope that Sean Duffy, the transportation secretary, and others will continue to insist that these states pursue these actions, even if it means that they have to go to court.
Rob, doesn't all this just prove once and for all what the Democrats were trying to? They didn't care who came in. They just wanted people to come in to eventually vote for them. And the question that I have is, how soon is eventually? I mean, what are we facing coming the midterms in terms of, I mean, they obviously didn't care about dangerous people coming into this country. So I don't think people with that cavalier an attitude would care if people who weren't qualified to vote.
David, a couple of things. I mean, first of all, as you indicated, there does seem to be a process in which the Democrats were following, that they were hopeful that these illegal immigrants would eventually be able to propel them to elected office. Donald Trump, I think, bucked the trend when he showed that there were certain types of groups that just simply wouldn't go along with that, and they self-deported and they returned to their home countries. I think there are others that the federal government needs to round up and remove. And yes, they need to be mindful of the fact that there are consequences, electoral consequences, if they don't continue to pursue that into 2026. We know from past experience that illegal aliens have voted in elections. They have turned the tide in some cases. And so that is a real concern. I think that the other factor that you need to keep in mind, particularly as it pertains to this, we think about crime and law and order, and we think about the dangers that might persist on the streets. We don't often think about when we get behind the wheel of our car that we could be taking our life into jeopardy. Absolutely. Because there's somebody who's driving illegally.
Rob, there's another sub-issue here, and that is Gavin Newsom, who's going to be running for president on the basis of all his success as governor. When you look at the fires, and you still haven't had proper cleanup for that, you look at all the problems with the homelessness, it just goes on and on. Now the floods, and the incredible thing is he's getting pushed now to raise tax rates even more than they already are. The top marginal is over 13% in California. If he does that, the economy is going to die.
David, it certainly seems like he's trying to compete with Zohran Mamdani there in New York City. I'm not sure what exactly Gavin Newsom's, what constituency he's thinking he's going to appeal to. California is already in a state of affairs that is not a good outlook for anybody who wants to be president of the United States. My good friend and our contributor to the Daily Signal, Victor Davis Hanson, talks about this all the time as a lifelong Californian, the consequences that you're seeing from the tax policies and the other things that are happening there in Sacramento.
All right. Rob Bluey, we got to leave it at that. Great to have you. Thank you for being here. More Kudlow right after this.